Welcome to episode 19 of News for the Blues, your weekly bite-sized show brought to you by the Unholy Trinity Everton podcast. To the shirt first, as always, 2012-13 Everton third shirt with Yelovich 7 on the back. As we know, is his second touch with his celebration. As we used to say for a time when he first signed for the club, went on a fabulous run of just scoring with his first touch. A bit of a cult hero. And it was a decent effort from Nike that year with the 12-13 shirt, and that third white one was another plain, simple but nice classic collared shirt. So another favourite from the collection there. And onto the news out of the press conference today. Obviously, pre-match press conference as we go to Crystal Palace on Sunday, 2:00 kickoff. Crystal Palace now obviously Conference League finalists after they beat Shakhtar 2-1 last night to advance to the final. So a big sort of week for them, massive for them to get through to the Conference League final. And our hopes are that all eyes are on the Conference League final, and we've got a decent chance of going to Selhurst Park on Sunday and picking up 3 points after what was on Monday a disappointing end to a really good second half against Manchester City. And David Moyes was asked about that first off today in terms of how he sort of views it now. Did he see it as a good point, etc., etc. And he said basically he's still disappointed by it. It sort of sat with him for quite a while this week. When you're 3-1 up and you've got about 10 or 15 minutes or so to go, you would expect, we all expected that we'd be able to see the game out, I suppose. And he sort of, it's funny because they asked him about the fact that in the last 3 games, the points that we've lost because of stoppage time goals, obviously it's 4 points if you want to take into account the Merseyside derby, West Ham, and then Man City on Monday night. And sort of said, what can you put that down to? Because one of the journalists said he'd spoken to one of the players earlier, and they sort of said, well, that's Premier League football for you. But the mind just sort of pointed towards those 3 games and looking back at City in particular, and very much put it at the players' feet. He said, obviously, you look at yourself. What could you do differently? And it's very rare for him to make substitutes in stoppage time because he knows that the referee will throw on 30 seconds per substitute. Obviously, we made that double substitution right at the start of the stoppage time. And then obviously Tim Rabunum is off the pitch with cramp and he brings on Harrison Armstrong really late on. He said, but it was unavoidable sort of for us to do that against City. He said Keenan Dewsbury was getting tired and players were running past him. So he felt he had to do it. But he did very much say it's about decision making. He said, if you look at the City game, late on in stoppage time, we've cleared the ball and we've got 3 players chasing that ball against one Man City defending. He said, why would we do that? He said, make the decision. He said, do we need 3? No, we probably need 1, and that's it. So he was quite, I don't say keen and eager, but he was quite adamant really that, you've got to look sometimes at the players and what decisions they are making. Me personally, I've said it on our podcast, I've been on the Toffee Blues again today and said it on there. That second goal was a killer for me. When you've gone 3-1 up and you ship a goal inside 4 seconds of the restart, it's really, really poor. And that is poor game management, isn't it? That's what it's all about for me. It's game management. And we've got to do better. We can look at the Merseyside derby. We can look at West Ham. But it is about how do we sort of see games out and pick up points. Those 4 points that we've dropped in stoppage time in the last 3 games could make all the difference, couldn't they? To where we finished this season. So David Moyes still very much, looks at that game with a lot of disappointments and saw it as a great opportunity to get those 3 points when we went 3-1 up, and sadly it wasn't to be. But after the game, looking back, looking at the players' performances, obviously man of the match was Tim Rabunum. Massively deserved. Great performance from him, especially the second half when our midfield got a bit more to grips with things and dictated things a little bit more. Merlin Rule, another one, he was fantastic as well on that right hand side, and totally different to what we've seen from, say, Dwight McNeil this season over there. And obviously he was asked whether they're giving them questions to answer going into the game of the weekend, and yes, they are, of course, but he did confirm that Gana Gueye is still injured. He said nothing serious, but not available for Sunday. So you would assume that you'd be going with the same side, with maybe the only exception from the start 11 against City is the striker, in terms of, does Beto drop to the bench again after Tieno Barry scored 2? For me, yeah. You play the players who are in form. Beto's been in great form prior to going off against Liverpool with concussion and missing that game against West Ham. Wasn't really at it against Man City. Didn't really impact things too heavily at the top end of the pitch. Mainly in a poor first half for everybody. But Tieno Barry comes on for half an hour or so and scores 2 goals. And people will say, and people said to me, well, easy goals really, weren't they? Well, I would say, well, you've got to be there to score them. So the first goal, especially, I thought was a great finish. And the second one, again, you've got to read things. You've got to be there. You've got to show a will to get into the box, which he did for both goals. So for me, he scored 2 goals. He'll be feeling fantastic, for doing that. 8 league goals this season, the same as Beto, the same as Keenan Dewsbury. First time it's happened in the Premier League season, by the way, as was pointed out at the press conference, that 3 Everton players have scored 8 goals or more. So it's one of them. I think that'll be the only change. I'll be keeping Maitland-Niles on the right hand side. I'll be keeping Erabudum in the middle with James Garner. Obviously, the manager picks himself, and then you have then Tieno Barry up top with Keenan Dewsbury just behind. That's what I see, and I don't see any other reason why the manager would feel he needs to change anybody else. Erabudum was just, as I say, was just cramp. He's fine. He's fine for Sunday. So there are players. It's good to see players who have come in and have taken a chance, isn't it? It's not just a simple case of they're coming on for, say, 10 or 15 minutes and they can't influence the game. Barry comes on, scores 2 goals. That's what you want to see. Erabudum comes back in, man of the match. Maitland-Niles comes in an unorthodox position, but from what we've seen in this season, done a great job. So you play them, you play the players who are in form. But obviously, Palace Sunday, as I just said, qualified for a European final. Their manager, Oliver Glasner, had said today that you're giving the players the day off. Obviously, only played last night. He said they have done it in the past where they've had them in training the following day after a Conference League game, and it hasn't really worked for them. So he's given them that time off. Hopefully they've had a good few drinks last night and into this morning. And when it comes to Sunday, all eyes for them are on this Conference League final. Understandably so, but that's probably all I hope. The fact that Palace, are looking ahead, which we will be doing probably exactly the same, but kind of go in our favour. Big game for us on Sunday. If you're looking at those European places, we're still in the mix. The points thing against City, although it was disappointing, I think the players can take a lot from the second half, and I still feel that we are in the mix. I don't think we're going to get it. That's just my personal feeling. I hope I'm wrong, but I think 7 to 9 points is what we need to get European football. The last 3 games are all winnable. It's, as I say, Palace because they've got eyes on other things, potentially. Sunderland, our final home game, definitely winnable. And Tottenham, maybe they're going to be safe by that last game now, which is some turnaround, isn't it? Because we all thought going into that final game of the season, Tottenham are going to need to probably get 3 points to stay up. But it brings distance. You might have the anxiety of having to get 3 points or a point to survive, or you might just have the relaxation of, we're safe, nothing to play for. But Everton have got something to play for. And can we take points in all of these final 3 games? As I say, I think 7 to 9 is what we need to try and get European football. Let's see. And David Moyes said, that getting Everton into Europe, talking obviously about Palace and what they've done this season, how well they've done, won the FA Cup, won the Charity Shield, Community Shield, and then he's now in the final of the Conference League. So his dream is to get Everton back in Europe. It's where we want to be. He was asked whether that would impact, obviously, recruitment this summer. He says no. He says he feels that he's got his plans in place. He said you never know, obviously, of course. He said, but we need young players. If you are fighting on sort of, in Europe and playing Thursday, Sunday, you need young players and good young players who can come in, step up and make a bit of a difference as well, which we're not quite there with yet. Obviously, a lot of young players in and around that squad. A lot of money spent on one in particular. And in Tyler Diblin, who hasn't obviously played a great deal this season and hasn't really, when he's got his opportunity, hasn't done a great deal, if we're being perfectly honest. But he said, we will. He probably found it hard to settle in. But hopefully we will see a lot more of him next season, after he's had obviously a full pre-season with the club. But a lot of questions, say, in and around recruitment, I think, to be answered. The World Cup, again, is going to have an impact on things, because it's always a strange summer when you've got an international tournament, and it does impact things. And David Moyes says, probably early on in the summer, in the transfer window, we'll probably see that impact things. But it's the same for everybody, isn't it? Can we get any work done early? Not every player is going to the World Cup. Not every country is going to the World Cup. There will be players out there that aren't impacted by it. Jack Grealish is another one who was mentioned. He's on holiday already, judging by his Instagram yesterday. Although he did put out a little bit of a story with a certain Elton John song attached to it. So what does that mean? I think we all know he wants to stay. I think we all know the club want him. But David Moyes said no further update on that at this moment in time. But he's not going to come out and say it, is he? That we've been talking to City and we're this far apart, and it's not going to happen. But I think we all expect to see Jack Grealish in an Everton shirt again next season. But no update from the manager as things currently stand on that. And that was pretty much about it. So all eyes now on Sunday. Fingers crossed for the 3 points for the Blues. And we can then look forward to our final home game of the season at Hill Dickinson Stadium against Sunderland. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you on Sunday post-match to look back on our Palace match. Fingers crossed for 3 big points for the Blues. We'll catch you then.